Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Taft City Council Successor Agency Joint Regularly Scheduled Meeting for Tuesday, July 18th, 2017. As a courtesy to all, please turn your cell phones off or put them on vibrate. Most of you are all professional meeting goers and have already gotten that done. Thank you very much. Any writings or documents provided to a majority of the City Council regarding any item on this agenda are made available for public inspection in the lobby at Taft City Hall, 209 East Kern Street, Taft, California, during normal business hours. That announcement courtesy of Senate Bill 343. We're going to begin this evening's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by myself, thank you, and the invocation by Michael Chiramonte of the Lighthouse Foursquare Church. So if you would all join me, please. Hand over your heart, salute, and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, despite the heat, I thank you for this day. I thank you for all things and for this elected government body. I ask you to bless it, lead it, and guide it. I ask you to be with all the people that we may seek your face, because you are the God of all wisdom and understanding. So lead us and let us glorify you always. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Michael. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor North.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Here.
Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
Councilmember Cryer.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
All right. Item number 1, public hearing, zoning ordinance amendment number 2016-23, home occupation permits. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. This proposed amendment seeks to merge the prior home occupation standards with the current standards that were adopted in 2008. Attached is the draft resolution, the amended section 612-18 that includes pre-2008 standards integrated with the new standards. The merging of the two standards will help ensure that home businesses do not change the primary residential use or affect neighboring residential uses. The home occupancy permit application will be revised to include the amended section 612-18 for reference.
Thank you very much.
Approved unanimously May 17, 2017 by the Planning Commission.
All right. Very good. All right. The recommendation is to conduct a public hearing, which I'm going to open right now. Anybody wishing to speak on behalf of this, please step forward. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this, please step forward. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve and amend the City of Taft Municipal Code entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Taft, approving zoning ordinance amendment number 2016-23, an amendment of section 6-12-18 of Title 6 of the Taft Municipal Code regarding home occupation permits, for the first reading by title only, and reading of such be waived.
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
No.
No, sir.
Gentlemen?
Yes. I have a couple of questions. Looking through here, how about a welding shop inside your garage, like fabrication and stuff? Would that be permissible underneath here? I don't see where it says no. That'd be one of the questions I would have.
Sure.
We'll have Mark Staples step up here and see if he can address those questions.
I'm assuming that would be prohibited.
Mark Staples, Planning Director. Yes, that would be prohibited. Things that are not listed are prohibited. Some of the ones that I believe we have listed are just ones that are probably most likely to come up as a question if they would be. So things that are similar to an industrial use would not be allowed.
So I'm going to do like a little hobby shop, working on race cars and stuff. And
that's what number 1 I think says there.
It's for personal use, not for hire. They can.
Yeah, personally you can, but as part of a business now, car repairs.
How about cooking for commercial?
There is limited cooking allowed through the cottage law that the state passed a number of years ago. We would work with the local health department to make sure.
The local health departments now allow people to have home cooked stuff.
How's that monitored? You see all kinds of corners and stuff all over the place, and a lot of them are not legal, but they cook them at home out of their trash cans and stuff.
That's an enforcement issue by the health department. If someone
don't-
knows of an illegal operation, they turn them into the health department.
I see a lot of that, but there's the questions I have. I didn't see anything about a welding shop. I could have missed something here. But
If it's excluded, then the presumption is it's not allowed.
Correct. As a business.
okay. That's all the questions I have.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you, Orson. Appreciate it. Okay. Any more discussion in this? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
Mayor North.
Yes. I pass on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, item number 2, public hearing, zoning ordinance amendment number 2017-11, accessory dwelling units. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. On February 22nd, 2017, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the City Council of a zoning ordinance amendment related to accessory dwelling units. On April 4th, 2017, the City Council adopted ordinance number 825-17, which amended section 61222, changing the term second dwelling units to accessory dwelling units, and amended the development standards to encourage more units to be built. However, no other sections of the zoning ordinance was amended that either defined or referenced second dwelling units to read as accessory dwelling units. Attached is a resolution with amendments of various sections of the zoning ordinance. Mainly cleaning, make sure they vote.
Roger that. Thank you very much. All right, the recommendation is to conduct a public hearing. So at this time, I'll open that public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak in support of this issue? Anybody wishing to speak against this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve and amend the City of Taft Municipal Code entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Taft Approving Zoning Ordinance Amendment Number 2017-11, an amendment of various sections of Title VI of the Taft Municipal Code, amending definitions, references, and regulations for accessory dwelling units for the first reading by title only, and reading of such be waived.
Motion. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
No.
Gentlemen, any discussion on this? No. Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
Mayor North.
Yes, and I'll pass on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. At this time, I believe we're going to rearrange the schedule just a little bit. We're going to move item number 6, which is citizen request public comments, up the calendar to the next item, which would be item number 3. So, I have before me a list. Looks like we're going to have a speaker. So then, citizen request public comments. This is the time and place for the general public to address the City Council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. I believe Dr. Oren from the Chamber is going to come up here and speak with us. Dr. Oren?
Thank you. Good evening. It's been a while since I've been here, and I've missed you. Apparently, you can work just fine without me coming and watching you. So, I want to let folks know that we had a car show that was different in scope because it was in the middle of our town on Center Street, and it was probably the most hot day of the year, but I want to thank those folks who came out and supported the car show, the people that brought their cars, the vendors, and of course our downtown business people. So we thank you for that. Looking ahead, tomorrow at 8:30 we will be cutting the ribbon on the community room at the United Security Bank. They have changed their boardroom to a community room, and are being very generous with folks being able to use that. So it's kind of a little ribbon cutting ceremony at 8:30. 9 o'clock will be sit and sip, and we will have it there at the community room. Our guest speaker is Scott Spielman, who is a deputy district attorney here in Kern County, and he is a candidate for district attorney in 2018. So we're looking forward to hearing from him and just having a good time together in the old community room. So please come. We know that the food is going to be wonderful, because it always is when we're invited to United Security Bank. We're looking forward to October. We'll have two rather large events in October. The first is the golf tournament. You should be receiving your entry forms and information in the mail pretty soon. The next thing we're having is the Galloween. This is the gala close to Halloween. Got it, Randy? I saw you frowning.
Took a little bit, but I finally figured it out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'd like you to smile from now on when you hear that, because that was my idea. And
Wonderful play on words.
yes, thank you. And I work with some pretty smart girls, and when I get an idea forward, it's a pretty big deal for me. So anyway, that is going to be the Saturday before Halloween. And if God willing and the creek don't rise, it will be at our new transit center, and it looks like it may be the first event ever at our transit center. So we are very excited. Everyone be nice to Paul Linder and Glennie Black, because we want everything to be just smooth now. We want everything to happen perfectly. And of course, this kind of marks the beginning of the season, because fall is a very busy season for the Chamber. We want to say thank you to all of the sponsors of our events. We want to say thank you to the folks that have joined the Chamber, some of you for the umpteenth time, some of you are brand new members. Our directory will be coming out in a couple weeks, and everyone who's a member will get one. And also, we'll have a pocket directory that will be available to folks probably coming up in about a month. So we've been working very hard, and we appreciate the support that we get at the Taft Chamber. So thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work as well as the report, Kathy.
Absolutely.
All right, at this time, we're going to go into closed session for item A, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9A, Taft Union High School versus the City of Taft.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, I just want to make sure everyone's aware. I'm going to recuse myself from this due to the existing relationship with the other party in this matter.
All right, I thank you very much. Duly noted.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right. Welcome back to regular session, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have a report regarding closed session from the city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report out of closed session is that the City Council discussed the closed session item, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Taft Union High School versus City of Taft, and direction was given to staff.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention closed session ended at 6:32 p.m.
All right, thank you. Next item on this evening's agenda, item number 3, information and comment regarding litigation by Taft Union High School District against the City of Taft. For information and comment only. Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First thing I'd like to say is that this is for information. We have an obligation to keep the community updated and informed regarding this matter, which is the lawsuit filed against the City of Taft by Taft Union High School District. And that's the purpose of this statement. The Taft Union High School District previously filed suit against the City of Taft arising from the tragic shooting incident at the Taft Union High School on January 10, 2013. The City of Taft has publicly denied any wrongdoing in the shooting incident and strongly disagrees with the high school district's decision to file suit against the City of Taft. Multiple attempts at convincing the Taft Union High School District and its insurance carrier to drop the suit against the City of Taft have failed. This is especially unfortunate and ironic because the taxpayers of the City of Taft will ultimately foot the bill for the high school district to sue the City of Taft, regardless of which side wins in court. In other words, unless the suit is dropped against the City of Taft, the taxpayers of Taft are effectively paying to sue themselves. The City Council finds this approach to lack any common sense and to be destructive of the bonds that hold this community together. We all remember the tragic events of January 10, 2013. However, the current situation in which Taft taxpayers are being forced to sue themselves, only deepens the wounds this community suffered that day. The City Council is proud of the Taft Police Department and the difficult job its officers have done every day. The City Council hopes that the Taft Union High School District and its claims management company will publicly say the same and, further, demonstrate that support for the Taft City Police Department by dropping this expensive and wasteful lawsuit against the City of Taft. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. In regard to what is going on currently with this issue, the contract for the providing of an SRO to Taft Union High School District expired on the 30th of June.
You might explain what an SRO, please.
School Resource Officer. Expired on the 30th of June. Currently, they do not have a School Resource Officer at Taft High. The language that has to be put into any contract for a School Resource Officer up and down the state of California has been created and dictated by our Risk Management Authority. We as a city, and there are 52 others within the state of California that are part of the RMA, are required, forced to have this language in any contract. If it is not in a contract, then there is no insurance coverage, period. It is not open negotiation based on our RMA. For that reason, at this time, and it has not been accepted by Taft Union High School or their CISC group, which is their insurance company, there is no contract, there is no School Resource Officer. In the future, we hope that is different. One of the real ironies here, and it was touched upon in the staff report, is when you think about it, a school or a church or a Parks and Rec or a healthcare district or a city government is all a part of our quality of life and providers of our quality of life. Those things are also all funded by the taxpayers in one way or another. This disagreement, this litigation, is not some far-off insurance company fighting some other far-off insurance company. This is a pooled risk management group, the school, which we have a dog in that hunt, we have meat in that game. This is the taxpayers' funds being expended to sue the city of Taft, which we will be forced to defend ourselves, and we will run up litigation costs as well, which will be paid for directly out of our general fund, so the taxpayers lose again. In simple terms, all of those things, whether the funds are expelled by the Taft Schools District or by the city of Taft, they're your funds. We won't be buying books at the high school with the funds that are expended, and we won't be fixing roads in the city of Taft with the dollars that are expended. The money will go to law firms. It'll go to litigation. It will leave our communities. It will not help or lend itself to our quality of life on either end of this thing. The only people who will benefit from this are the lawyers who will run up litigation costs. Those monies leave the community. That, we believe, is a travesty. It won't help us, nobody in this community whatsoever. We want this to end. We will discuss this further at some later date. We just wanted to inform the people of the city of Taft, our customers, of where we are right now and the conditions that currently exist. That is the reason for this being on the agenda this evening. All right, that's all I have to say. Next up, item number 4, presentation by Teresa Binkley, Finance Director, 2017-2018 budget.
Mr. Mayor, before we begin, I think we can call Councilmember Bryant back in. And just for the record, he recused himself before the closed session, did not participate, and also was not here in the chambers while this item was being discussed.
Oh, thank you very much. Matter of fact,
He is on the finance committee, so he'd like to do it.
He was so absent, I forgot
Due to
about
the
it.
fact that he is employed by the Taft Union High School District.
Thank you, Councilmember Miller. Yes, correct.
Good evening, Teresa.
Good evening. Did everybody get a copy of the revised proposed budget?
Yep.
And my list of capital purchases?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, the copy of the presentation.
Capital project.
So, good evening, Mayor, council members. Tonight, I'm here to present the final 2016-17 and the proposed budget for 2017-18. So first of all, within the budget for 16-17, we had included for the large maintenance project at the wastewater treatment plant, and that is in a fund by itself. And then also we had budgeted for the transit center with a community service room. The transit center, why it's important to still bring this up, the large maintenance project, we are going to finally do the final draw and those kinds of things, and that is in a separate fund. But within the general fund, the transit center, the expenditures and the project approval and the funds that the council had approved to move from general fund into pay our share of the transit center did not get to that point. So those dollars were carried over to this new budget. Plus, the council had approved, and we'll discuss later too, or you'll see in the transfers from general fund, the council also had approved another additional $340,000. So it makes the total project cost coming from general fund at $940,000.
This is for the transit center, right?
That is for the transit center.
Okay, our match, and then what the additional was approved. The original match of 600, right?
It's $600,000. There really isn't a required match, but we had PT Mizia grant funds to pay for the transit center, which was, we received funds of $1.4 million. Those do not have a match, but in the design for the transit center, we had, you guys and Mark had developed a community room off of the transit center, so that became part of the city's portion. And then with the whole project cost, the project cost ended up coming in more than the 1.4.
When we bid out the project, the way we designed it, the bid came in over what we budgeted for. So we had an option of going back and changing some of the architectural design of the building to reduce that cost by $336,000 or fund it. And after some conversation in December, it was everyone's feeling that the architecture and the design of the outside of the building, beside the oil worker monument and the importance it would have in the downtown, that we would fund that extra portion to keep the theme of the old rail depot look alive and everything else. So instead of going to a composition roof, getting rid of the nano wall, getting rid of the patio, all the aspects of the building to make it what we wanted, council decided to fund $336,000.
You guys can pardon me if I'm wrong here, but just to make sure the folks at home are listening to this, we got grant funds from PT Mizia, Kerncog, right, that would have paid for a Toyota. We decided it would be in the best interest of the community to invest slightly more and buy a Cadillac, right? Yes.
The initial $1.4 million funding would have paid for the office building portion, the parking lot for the transit vehicles. And the idea was, since the site work had to be completed, the utilities had to be put in there, that it would be the time to move on a building if we so choose.
Correct.
Save us a lot of money.
And I guess what I'm saying, not a Cadillac just for the sake of saying, hey, I got a Cadillac. It's functional. Something that serves multiple purposes across multiple departments and community uses. So
it was a critical piece of the puzzle that got left out of the development of the Rails to Trails, especially when the hotel was built. You think about one of the great aspects of the hotel is we have more accommodations for people coming in from out of town, whether it's for an oil conference or it's a wedding or a class reunion or whatever the case may be. But in that, they didn't build a conference center. You know, it was left out. And so this was an opportunity to enhance the transit center. We had worked hard and we had saved our money, and then make it all a part of the walkable community, and it will be owned by the taxpayers. It's an asset that will only add to that entire venue. So yeah, it will enhance the venue, and it was a great opportunity to do that.
Plus it will have a revenue stream because it would be for rent for venues.
And
We went through this once before. You proposed it, we approved it. I think we all voted for it.
Absolutely,
Yes
absolutely.
on there,
I
so
still
it
stand
wouldn't-
behind it.
Wouldn't, yeah, so we're
It's
all
just
behind.
after 6 months goes by, 7
Yeah.
months go by, you look at it, and even staff had to take a second look at it to make sure the numbers were correct, so we had the correct numbers.
It was a great idea.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll only say
Area that's
that.
been approved.
I just think it's important we're very clear on that, what that is for. I get a lot of questions about the community about, hey, what's this building for? What's it going to be? I go up there once a week and take a look at it, walk around and look through it. I'm excited to see it because I think, again, it's the city putting what money we have where our mouth is, hopefully encouraging others to develop in that area and us shining a light on a beautiful downtown.
I agree. Thank you very much.
And that was one of the main reasons that the revised budget, the one that you have, had to be adjusted again because I originally had only put in the $600,000. So I had to go back and revisit that item. Okay, so the proposed budget for 17-18 operating spending limits for the annual appropriation limit calculation that was approved by council is $6.5 million. This is if for those that are unaware, the annual appropriation limit kind of restrains and restricts how much a community or a city can spend based upon the number of community members. So it tries to keep spending within the city's limit of the population. Okay. So based upon knowing that information for fiscal year 17-18 operating expenses in the proposed budget is proposed at $6.3 million. That is excluding capital. That is strictly for operating. And by all means, if you have any questions, ask them as we go along. Okay, so as everybody hears in the news and the hotspot and talk about CalPERS, so we're going to cover the changes in CalPERS that highly affects our personnel cost. So the city has currently 6 plans. One is called an inactive, which we'll discuss in a little bit, but it's for the fire. It's an inactive plan. And then we have miscellaneous plans, one classic, one PEPRA, and then we have 2-tiered system for the police officers, and then also the PEPRA for safety. So in the 17-18 budget, the percentage of CalPERS employer's portion rate per salary is 8.418. So basically every dollar is being charged that percentage based upon their salary. Plus now with the redesign that happened 2 years ago, this will be the 3rd year, where they have pulled out and have identified that each individual's unfunded liability. You have an option to pay the amount. The amount that I have listed there on the board includes the discount for prepaying. The prepayment is due on July 31st of the year. You also have an option to pay over the year every month. But we only get a slight savings for prepaying, but the way I look at it too is that the time for administration costs, the time to monitor and make sure that we pay it, because if you pay it late, then you're going to add additional cost, interest, penalties. So it's just easier just to pay it, and then we put it into prepaid expense and then amortize it over the 12 months to smooth it out. So when we have our finance committee meetings, it shows, so when we have the first quarter, it shows just the first quarter of expenses. The remaining amount of expenses is in prepaid, and they're journaled over every month. Okay?
It saves us money. It saves us interest, saves us money. And that's one of the few things we can do to minimize the negative effects of the servicing of the unfunded liability that is in PERS. That's why we do it. It's a good idea.
Okay. So for the police safety tier, we have 36 members, but we only actually have 1 active member. And it is anticipated by the end of this fiscal year that active member will be retired. So at that time, this plan will go into the inactive pool. And then we will only have the unfunded liability. So the rates for the payroll is 14.9%, and the unfunded liability is $112,000. For the police safety 2, again, it's 12.2%, and it's $27,300 for the unfunded liability. These are the new plans. The new plans were created to try to help correct the unfunded liability situation. So the employer rate actually has gone down slightly, but we also have a slight unfunded liability, but it is a significant increase from prior year.
On a percentage basis.
Yes. Even though the amount's small, it is from 300 to 900 in 1 year. That is significant, especially for the number of members that we have in that group. We only have 2 or 3. It's not very many. Oh, wait a minute, back up. Oh well, previous slide. That's miscellaneous. Oh, we have quite a few members in that one. That's miscellaneous. So I'm going to take that back. As we go along, we're having a large number of our employees are now in this group. So now in safety, PEPRA, the rate has slightly increased, and now we do have an unfunded liability the first 2 years, but I'm trying to remember, we've only have a couple of police officers in this group. So, and as we have staff turnover, they may or may not, depending on their status, be in this group. So here I'm talking about the inactive plan. That is the fire department. So obviously we have no current salaries, so the percentage rate is 0. But as you can see, from fiscal year ending 2015 to 18, the liability has doubled. So, and it has 27 active members. Those are members that are currently working for another agency or retired. So it has 27.
Just as a brief recap, if you look back at all of those slides that we have just looked at, even the PEPRA slides, which was after the change in legislation that was supposed to avoid the creation of unfunded liability, what are we doing? Creating unfunded liability to this day. You look at that slide she just showed you, look at the percentage of rates of increase of unfunded liability year to year to year. 38,000, 46,000, 58,000, 69,000. Imagine if that was the debt that you paid, if that was your mortgage. Imagine if that was your car payment. Imagine if that was your wages. If your wages were going up incrementally like that, you'd be dancing in the streets. But you're not. But the debt is, in spite of things. That's the trend. It's the trend you need to be prepared for in the future. That is a trend that will suck the life's blood out of the general fund. That is your roads, that's your parks and rec, that's your police cars, that's officers on the street. That's irresponsibility that began with Gray Davis in Sacramento, and the cowards up there will not do anything to actually fix that. And I've talked about this many times. However, it is an unfortunate circumstance that every time we sit up here, and every year we do, and every year we talk about our budget, we are able to provide fewer and fewer resources and services to the customer, the taxpayer, because of that. All right, thank you. I don't mean to get on my soapbox.
That's fine. The one thing to keep in mind too, all the information that I have provided to you does not reflect that the decrease in assumption factor yet.
That next big hit is yet to come.
Yes.
And it will be for multiple years.
Yes. So, just taking a look at what we're looking at right now. So for miscellaneous plans, that is for the Pepra and the Classic both. Current year expenditures, and that's just for the current, and then the unfunded liability. So the total expense to CalPERS is $635,000, and that is estimated, of course, because people come and go on the current, but it's close. And then out of 127 employees, that averages to about $5,000 per employee.
Very good. Thank you.
So for safety plans, okay, and this is for both tiers and for Pepra, all added together. Current year expense is going to be almost $155,000. The unfunded liability is $139,000 for a total expense of close to $300,000.
The unfunded liability payment is almost as much as the current year expense.
Safety
And
is
remember, the amortization that is going to take place because they're lowering the anticipated rate of return won't hit until next year, the following year,
I believe it's 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, there will be additional funds. And at least 4 years of it, they're going to let it be amortized over 4 years because it's another hit, another line.
So, police department, we only have 17 active members, and with that kind of unfunded liability, the average per employee goes up significantly to over $17,000 per employee.
Okay, let's get to the big one.
Yeah. So, budgeted CalPERS expense for 17-18. So now I'm just taking the total of all the plans. So the total expense that I have budgeted within this budget is, I guess you could just say $1 million.
That's about $1 million bucks.
So
We're spending $1 million out of a $6 million budget for PERS.
And
Yes.
the trend is a bigger and bigger and bigger chunk will be spent every year. That is correct.
So 1/6 of our budget is going to PERS.
yes, retirement costs. Yeah, prior year's budget, just for reference sake, was $936,000.
Thank you very much.
So let's discuss percentage of payroll to general fund expense. Okay, so, because this is pretty important, right? So general fund actual expense is shown there for the past 4 years. Keeping in mind that 2017 is not actual final, but it is what it is currently. And then 2018 is what we have budgeted. Now that includes capital. So when you take the personnel costs, safety is $2.8 million, which is 38% of the actual general fund anticipated expenditures. And then we have non-safety, which is the miscellaneous plans, and we have $2 million worth of payroll expenditures, which is 28%. So total payroll expense out of the $7 million is anticipated to be $4.8 million. So that leads us to be a total personnel cost of 67%. We're trying to, but this is estimated, as you can see, as the actual expenditures come in and the actual expenditures for personnel, that the number goes lower because this number is just budgeted. So, but overall, cities start, you can see the historical, if cities go over 70, 75%, it's unattainable, and you can't maintain that much salary because you cannot provide services if you're paying that much salary out. So we're trying to keep within the 60% range, and we're doing well at that.
We're only 6 to 8% away from that point. Is that what you're telling us, Teresa?
Yeah.
All right.
But as long as we stay consistently and we're providing services, we know we can maintain this, we're doing well.
Compare with other cities, we're doing real well compared to other cities, because most cities are above 75% or 75% here in California.
There's a lot of them in the 80s.
Some are in the 80s, yeah.
we're
Some,
doing
and
well.
those are cities that are having difficulty, you know.
Yeah, considering we're doing pretty decent, considering what we're up against and everything.
On the list of 420 some odd municipalities and cities that are a part of it, we come in at about number 275. What we as a city, and we have talked about this as a council, aim to do is to try to maintain by operational fiscal responsibility our position. Slowly but surely, those cities below us who don't do what we are doing, living within their means, will continue to rise above us. And the higher you get on that list, the worse off you are. So what we want to do is, through attrition, if you will, slowly continue to drop down on that list. We're at 275, we want to be at 285, 290, 300, 310, because if the trend continues upward, with all those numbers we looked at, and those other cities, the system will fail. Okay, you either tax the holy bejesus out of the few tax providers that are left in this state, or the system fails. It's math. We want to get further and further down the list, further from that failure point. There are cities that their unfunded liability is up around 18%, some of them. We're at about 4.73.
And this number that we're looking for payroll costs does include the agreed upon stipends that was budgeted in the personnel cost.
Does or does not?
Does.
Does.
Very
Does.
good.
That's a
Yes.
2-year deal.
Right.
Yes, so that, and maybe that's why it's higher because of that, but it is included. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so just to list some, I did keep the council members on there, but this is some changes in the expenses. Record administrative, city clerk, we're doing grant writing services, increase in training. City administration, we did the transfer to the transit center. Planning department includes the new city logo, and then a couple of years back we moved the grant writing services from the planning department because the personnel was in there. Now the personnel is in a different department, which is city clerk, so that's been moved around.
Teresa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we paid for the city logo change in 16-17, and this would be for
I'm
signage.
sorry, it's for the signage.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry. I missed that. In the Civic Center, we actually originally put in for the council chamber remodel, but we will be revisiting that, so that will be coming back to the council to go back onto the budget. Right now, the budget does not include that, but we will revisit that definitely. And once we determine the scope and what all needs to be done and what the council's vision is on that part. This didn't change either. We went ahead in finance. I have a new position, and of course it did a shift in my department. I have a new assistant. Plus, we went ahead and replaced the storage servers, but we also have ordered new computers to replace all the computers within the city. And then also, I didn't add it, but we're redesigning the finance department. The way the seating arrangement is to add additional seating for these positions. We don't have enough seating, so we've got them makeshift places right now. Some of the people, some of my staff don't have telephones because they don't really actually have a real desk. but we're making do until we can take care of that. And then the police department, we're replacing 2 vehicles, and they're doing some building improvements, which they're going to do some improvements to their squad room. Yes, squad room. So they're going to redesign it to be more usable.
Just so we know, for the record, Chief, we're going to replace 2 more vehicles, just like the last 4 that we did. Those are serving us well.
Yes, sir, we are.
All right, thank you.
We'll skip that. Okay, so let's move on to budgeted capital purchases. Within this budget for 17-18, there's $756,000 in projects. So in city admin, they budgeted for some office equipment, furniture, and contingencies of $13,000. And of course, the breakdown of all these items are included in their line item budgets, but I just kind of put it together for you. So planning, office furniture and equipment. Again, for finance, we're going to redo the our seating area in the finance office. Of course, when we're doing that, we're going to do carpet and some other things, because I think the carpet's from the 70s. The police department, as we discussed, they're going to replace 2 vehicles, and they're going to do that improvement to their squad room. Animal control, we're looking at replacing the kennel software that she has. Right now, she's using 2 separate computers, an older computer that the software runs on. We replaced her computer a few years back, but the software no longer exists and you can't transfer it. There's a new company that bought that software out, so we're looking at using the same software, but a new company, and they'll convert all of ours.
Sorry. No. I had a question looking at your capital purchases, comparing 16-17 to 17-18. You've got, speaking of animal control, you've got software listed at $6,429 for animal control, and then again for $5,000 in 17-18.
No, the $6,000 was the remaining outfitting of the vehicle.
Okay, so it wasn't software.
No, it was not software. Sorry. That is incorrect. I need to fix that if that's the case. Yes, that was the last of outfitting her new vehicle that she got from the prior year.
The one got
wrecked
by some idiot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Street maintenance. We're looking at the city signage, and also looking at getting a skip loader. And the garage, they requested $8,000 to replace some obsolete equipment. And then in street maintenance, we have the street striping and just street repairs. So that's what is entailed in the 756. But then for the transfers in, normally the transfers in matches with the capital purchases, but again, with what we were discussing earlier, with the transfer out of reserves for the transit center, and then the stipends. So on the front page where it says total general fund transfer in from reserves, it's close to $2 million. So if you're curious, those
Very
two
close.
numbers. Yes. Okay, so
Just going back to that a little bit, I got something rolling around in my head
sure.
in regards to that 756,000 and what. So all those things, the things that directly going back to the taxpayers that they visually can see and touch and feel is $330,000 for street repairs and striping. The rest of it is infrastructure or maintenance for staff, for equipment, for buildings, for whatever. So out of that 756,000, over 400,000 of it's going for that, and 300,000 for street repairs. So
Yes.
just want to point that out. I just want to know.
Well, two vehicles they could see and touch.
And that's just this year. So you
Yeah.
would think next year we wouldn't have to none of the departments would have any of those needs anymore. And we could put more money into street repairs or parks.
I would say for my department, after this, I am definitely done, yes. But I can only speak for my department.
I wish that was the
So I do know that we would like, and they have discussed it, is that the police department vehicles, they're putting them on a schedule. So I anticipate on seeing police vehicles in there pretty much every
It
budget.
doesn't matter what vehicle it is and what department it is, they're expensive.
Correct.
Yeah, so, we try to get the most we can out of those pieces of equipment, and we're hoping that our staff that are taking care of those and squeezing as much usage out of those vehicles as possible.
Correct.
But, you got 40 grand or 50 grand for a police vehicle and 150 million bucks for a street sweeper or something. It's all of it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets used on a daily basis too, so it's not just sitting idle somewhere and rusting away. I mean, it's
Correct.
all being used and stuff.
And we're trying to ensure that nowadays that when vehicles are replaced, that we try to, go through the proper channels and dispose instead of letting equipment pile up like we had in the past. So trying to recover some money to help assist in purchasing the new one. So we are trying to do
Now,
that.
you're going back to the 67% of payroll versus general fund expense. Does that include the PERS?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So we've got approximately 33% of our budget that is discretionary towards
Providing services.
Providing services,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so, and
Correct.
every time more of that payroll goes up, the less services. Yeah.
Correct. And that's why it's very important that I like to always show what our payroll costs are and show that, it's where we're at. Okay. So I always like to show this slide because sometimes it's kind of nice to see the historicals when it comes down to what we budgeted and what was actual. So these are budget actual expenses versus what was actually expended. Now, 2017 is still estimated, and of course 2018 is what I am proposing. And it is extremely high, but that number does include the $2 million of expenses that we're asking to be covered by reserves. So this is a very high year for budget expenses, and I don't think we've ever been that high in a while. No questions or concerns over it. I wanted you to be very, very aware.
One more. Craig, if you would, what was the dollar amount we were proposing to put in the budget for signage?
It's in here.
45 or 50,000.
50,000.
Okay. If you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, and Mark, if you want to chime in on this, as a member of the Economic Development Committee, one of the things we really recommended was finding ways to capture the traffic along Taft Highway, get those folks into Taft, into the downtown, into any place in Taft to spend those tax dollars. A way to do that, there's 7,000 cars a day at either end of Taft Highway, at Wood Street, or down on Midway Road. 7,000 cars a day. What if we got 10% of those come into town? 10% more, I should say. I don't know what percentage of them already come into town. How much does that increase tax base? So our goal is investing taxpayer money to hopefully multiply that taxpayer money by way of sales tax and then spending other things here. So, I definitely wholeheartedly support that, and I can't speak for the other council members, but that's something I'm very, very excited to see in this proposal, and I really believe that it will pay residual dividends in the future. So.
All right, very good. Any other comments, gentlemen? No? All right, Teresa.
So, as a lot of you like, I've kind of done a bar graph, so you definitely can see that this year's budget is extremely higher than average, and actually the past 8 years. It's higher than ever. I don't know why that was doubled. Okay. That was doubled for some reason, sorry. Okay, so let's discuss revenue estimates. It's very important to ensure that our revenue estimates are as close as we can get. That way to ensure that our expenditures stay within those levels and we have no surprises at the end of the year. So based upon that information, property tax revenues were estimated to remain comparable to prior year budget. So prior year's final budget that we're proposing in this budget is $693,000. In our proposed budget for 17-18, we're proposing $680,000. Sales tax for 17-18 was budgeted at 17-18 final budget level at $1.3 million. Transit occupancy tax is estimated to be slightly increased after the TOT rebate. But it's only a slight increase. This fiscal year of 16-17, we had a significant increase, but we only slightly increased it off of the original number and not off of the final number. Business license fees are estimated at 17-18 at $132,000, which is slightly an increase from original budget, but not as high as the final budget for 16-17. Property tax in lieu of vehicle licensing fees and other taxes are estimated to remain level at $700,000. Service fee and overhead generated from other funds and is budgeted at $2.7 million. Other revenues, the California Solar Initiative. This line item is really puzzling to me. It keeps increasing year after year, but I'm not quite sure where these fees are generated and how they're distributed. So these fees I budgeted at $32,000, which is still significantly lower than the final budget for 16-17. It's really actually closer to what we got for 15-16. So I'm being over conservatively on that one, but we'll see what it comes in at. Revenue from police department is budgeted at close to $300,000. Planning revenues are budgeted at $150,000, and transfer in from general fund, and that number again is close to $2 million. So this is a summary of the revenues by category, and so the total revenues is close to $9 million for the year for 17-18. So did anybody have any questions in regards to what I just went through? Any concerns?
Well, just thinking how we can increase our revenues and decrease our expenses.
Yeah.
You know, and if anybody out there has got a big, bright idea on how we can do that, oil prices are low. It's not because we have a declining source of oil. It's just we have an overabundance of oil, and oil is low. And when that's low, oil property taxes are low. And we unfortunately don't get much from that because of our city boundaries. It doesn't cover much oil land around here. So we're dependent upon the modified community correctional facility for a big chunk of our revenue. Plus, as you can see, a lot of the revenue sources that we currently have are stagnant. So we're looking at all kinds of different options of how we can bring new revenue sources into this community. So again, if anybody out there's got a big bright idea on how we can do that, we would appreciate a big crowd down here coming forth with some ideas. So we attend, our staff attends, and the chamber attends a lot of different conferences on that very subject, and it's not bright out there right now. So, and you know, we're located kind of off the byways and highways, and we don't have a railroad running through here, so it's limited on what we can do. So, but again, that's our quandary here: is how can we increase the revenue without increasing the expenses, so that we can do more road work and more infrastructure for the city of Taft. So that's the only comment I have. Thank you for your presentation tonight, Teresa.
You're welcome.
Comment, feedback. Councilman Miller, you know, do you put in consideration what State California is doing?
Excuse me, I beg your pardon. You can't get you on the mic there. We need to.
I was kind of hiding it.
Need to have you recorded for perpetuity. Go ahead,
Okay. With California, with the extension of the carb tax and the new regulations coming into effect in November for the increased fuel taxes and other fees and stuff in the budget, or that's not as we're going based on
Yes,
prior?
I received estimates online that is transferred in from the gas tax fund, which is Fund 22, and then is transferred into the section that says operating transfers in. The estimate that I seen online from the new tax for fuel cells is only going to generate us what they're estimating is $60,000.
Right, but
In a year.
but doesn't it cost the city for fuel for the police cars and city maintenance and all that stuff to buy the fuel or energy, and electric bills and go a little higher, and our solar on our rooftops here is going to help substantially on keeping it down. But also, looking a little bit further ahead, our citizens here in this town is going to have to pay themselves the extra burden of the cost of the fuel, electric, and everything associated, the cost of groceries and this and that. You know, or it might, especially retirees who are on a fixed budget, they're going to have less disposable income to spend. You know, I was kind of looking at how that could change our budget a little bit, or costs or taxes in this city, or whatever. Because you hear things when people complain, man, I can't afford to live in California no more. You know, we're ready to pitch tent, and it's cost doing business anymore. That's money for me to spend to go to the restaurants or the movie or contribute to the chamber or whatever. It's enough to try to go ahead and do this, or I need to pay my bill. You know, I see a lot of some of that. I see a little doom and gloom. Maybe I'm wrong, but that could impact the city as far as income coming in and property taxes and stuff like that could be some influences in that. That's just a comment.
The city, it's just a comment. The city has not increased any of those fees or those taxes. This is all coming out of
All from the
Sacramento.
state.
So if, and the people need to know that. The Dems have run this state for decades, much like they ran Illinois. If you want to know the path we're headed down, simply look to Illinois. That's the route we're taking, which Puerto Rico, country of Greece, they took the same route as well. You can only fleece the golden goose so many times, and then you finally cook it, and then it's gone for good. So you're right. Path we're taking, the route we're taking, the way we're going, that trend is not your friend. Good. Lisa?
So I kind of made a little pie chart in regards to our revenue sources. And if I had also done, and I have had in the past, our revenue sources by what is our largest revenue source. And of course, our largest revenue source is sales tax. And the biggest part of that is from fuel cells. So when people are not buying fuel in town, we suffer a lot. A lot of times people say, well, I pay my property tax. Property tax is only 7% of our revenue sources. Now, Our revenues have slightly increased in property tax with the new additions of homes and people shifting from old home to a new home and people going from an older home to another new home. So our property tax is shifting a little bit from that, but property tax is a very low portion of our revenue sources. The biggest is from sales tax and the other current charges, but basically fuel sales encourage people to buy fuel here in town, shop tax like they always say. The sales tax is the biggest generator for us, and it's very important, and it'll be a good when the new grocery store opens too. That'll be a good one for us too, hopefully.
Teresa, could you please explain to people that are watching and listening what small percentage we actually get of property tax? So somebody pays, $1,000 a year in property tax. We don't get that $1,000.
No, we don't get the $1,000.
What do we actually get?
There is a calculation, but it's like a 1%, but then the other districts get a portion of it. So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but it's not even 1%.
So out of $1,000, we might get maybe $100, maybe?
That'd be
No,
10%.
more like that. That's right,
10
10%.
bucks.
So we're looking at $10. So
Yeah.
people are always talking about, well, I pay my taxes, my property taxes, I should be able to get my streets done. Well, you pay $1,000 in property tax, you've just given the city $10.
Some of those costs are also passed through, like the sewer and refuse charge. Right? We're collecting that and then sending right on to the people who provide that service to the citizens. So it's not like we're doing anything besides processing it and costing ourselves money to do so.
Right. Yeah. And property tax, in used to, people would say my property tax pays for the police department, it pays for the roads, it pays for this. But in reality, since property tax increases or the inflation factor have been stifled to where it could only at the most increase in 2% based upon the base value. And before, cities had the ability to kind of adjust that and do the needs. Now we're just giving them money and just have to do with what we have been given. So we have no control over that.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome. So that's all I have for this evening.
That's a lot.
It has been a long night.
A lot of information. Any additional questions, concerns?
Just goes to show it's not easy running a city.
No, it's
Not at all. Every year it's gut-wrenching and nervous, and where are we going to make it or not, and what all the stuff that comes down from the state and PERS, and it's just and things break and go leak and go bust in the night, and we have to have emergency funds available, and we just can't spend all of our reserves because we never know what's going to happen. So
Yes.
we wish we could do more, but we need revenue, and if we don't have an extra revenue, we can only do so much.
Correct.
Teresa, definitely thank you for all the hard work on this. I know it's a lot of work. I know it's a bear trying to get your arms around and know what it's like to crunch numbers all the time and want to be right and exactly correct. But one thing from my perspective that I think would be very helpful as we close the year's budget, I think it would be very helpful to have an executive summary that included highlights, cost drivers, or things we associate with why costs went up or why revenues went up or down. It would be very nice to have those things and what capital projects we invested in for the year. And then also, as we present it to the council, to the public for consideration of future year's budget, to have something very similar that shows us highlights that you really do touch on in your presentation, but in a more formal presentation, I guess. Because a lot of folks won't look at this presentation. They may not even watch this recording. Sorry, I couldn't think what it was. But to have it presented in the agenda that they might look at online might be very helpful and insightful. So that's just a suggestion. But
Okay.
thank you again for your work.
No problem.
All right. Thank you very much, Teresa.
You're welcome.
Thanks for all your hard work. Okay, that was item number 4. Now then, item number 5. Approval of final budget for fiscal year 2016-2017 and proposed budget for fiscal year 2017-2018. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Attached here too are the final operating capital expenditures for the fiscal year 2016-2017 and the proposed operating capital expenditure budgets for fiscal year 17-18. These budgets maintain the conservative fiscal policies of the Taft City Council members. These budgets were reviewed by the Finance Committee on July 12, 2017 and were recommended to be presented to the City Council for adoption. Budgets with respect to certain grant funds, which are multi-year fixed agreements amounts for specific activities to be performed in accordance with contracts and agreements with the state and federal agencies, are controlled by guidelines, laws, and regulations of the grant agreements. Hence, they are not included in this budget.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft adopting the City of Taft final budget for fiscal year 2016-2017 and proposed budget for the fiscal year 2017-2018."
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion on the budget?
No, sir.
Gentlemen? All right, I have a motion and a second. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
Mayor North.
Yes, that passes on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Next up, item number 7, council statements, non-action. I will begin this evening with Councilman Miller.
Again?
You just look like first.
I don't have anything specific tonight other than stay cool. And that is mentally, physically, and metaphorically. So, thank you.
That's 3 good pieces of advice. Thank you very much. Councilman Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's go a little bit further, or find out that, read a paper, in today's paper, you see that California lawmakers extend landmark climate change law. They're very gleeful about the whole thing, very happy and proud of themselves. And they don't understand, how can California itself do it on their own? You can't. You have to have everybody participate in order to make an even playing field. The uneven playing field means that businesses here in California suffer, people on fixed income suffers. There's no winners in the whole thing. There's no winners at all in it other than the politicians themselves feeling good and patting themselves on the back that they're doing something good, and a few people in San Francisco and LA think they're doing something good. It's driving out people out here like crazy. I can tell you a lot of personal anecdotes with my customers and other businesses I'm associated with. They're packing up and leaving. What's going to happen in California? We're going to have a bunch of people out here on welfare or live off of service industry and stuff. And I was reading a little bit further, and in San Jose, officials in Northern California say, San Francisco, 3 oceanfront California local governments are taking legal action against oil companies, saying all giant oil companies have known for almost 50 years that fossil fuels are changing the climate and causing sea to rise.
I thought it was icebergs.
Yeah, I know. They're claiming, they're named 37 companies. Well, if they're so concerned about, why are they buying gas in those counties? Why are they getting electricity from them? It all takes fossil fuel to do it. So if they're so interested, quit buying fuel. Ride their bikes. They're part of the blame too then.
Are you saying they're hypocrites?
I'm saying they're more than just hypocrites, but I just can't say too much.
They don't drive buses to meetings.
But it's hard to say. You got all this stuff here, but who's suffering here? It's the lower class, the working class is suffering. The middle class definitely suffering, paying all the bill, because what do we get out of anything? We get nothing. We pay the full burden, and the rich people, God bless them. We need the rich people and stuff, but they got enough money. They don't have to worry about it. They can just keep paying. It doesn't affect them at all because they're making their money, which is in their right and privilege to have that. But it's the middle class and the lower income, especially the ones on a Social Security retirement fund. They're struggling. I have a neighbor of mine. Well, I can't say neighbor. I have a customer of mine, retired. He's a good customer at the restaurant. He comes there every day. He's talking about moving out because cost of fees is getting so much in California, and the cost of living and insurance and everything going higher. He can't afford to live here. He's going to move with his son in Arkansas because it's cheaper there. It's just getting so hard to make a living here, especially those who are getting close to retirement. People might gripe, why do you also keep saying something about other things other than pertain to TAP? This does pertain to our city. It pertains to our citizens because it affects us here. I'd like to see these 37 oil companies here come to Kern County and do more development and pull out of those other counties that don't want them there. I welcome them. We all welcome them to come here and help our city and our county and be more prosperous. But if I was them, if I was running business there, man, I'd get there so quick that the door wouldn't hit my butt.
It would be nice to have a fund like these cities have, the frivolous lawsuit fund that they must have to file these funds. We certainly don't have that kind of money.
People seem to think we do. They keep sending them our way.
But it's a sad part of it. It's kind of worry about the budget and stuff, but we welcome them. I like to make it that they can always come here. We'll treat them real nice. They can do whatever they want to do. We provide in California, let us do it in Kern County, but they'll come with some rule, regulation, or some kind of a climate change deal saying that no more wells can not be drilled in California unless whatever happens. But the argument on here in the bottom, we had a little half paragraph saying that from a Republican in Assembly, saying that I'll read that. Officials, get the right paragraph here. I'll have it here in front of me. But they're sure blaming that it's raising the seas and all the other stuff here. But I must have that article I read that saying all climate change is kind of like a little bit of bunk in there. And if everybody moved out of California, that's everybody. This is plain like a desert. We still wouldn't get rid of the smog, the environmental issues they're complaining about, the ozone layers and stuff. We wouldn't even make not one dent, not one difference in that. And that's the other viewpoint. Anyway, that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
All right, you bet. Councilman Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to be brief here, but I know Councilwoman Hill will tell me, or will tell everyone, that I'm probably the resident troll on this council of social media. And it's an indicator of my age, but I think it's also a great way to get information, whether or not it's biased or hearsay. But it's a great way to have your pulse, or your hand on the pulse of what's going on locally and nationally. But one of the things I constantly hear, and it kills me today, to constantly hear about theft, crime, people's frustration in dealing with it. And it's funny that I had an article come up that just says it right here. It says, California's Prop 47 revolution. Voters are sold a bill of goods. Well, what's funny is this was written less than a year after the proposition was passed. And it still holds true almost 2 years beyond this. And it's getting worse. I won't read it verbatim, but one of the things it talks about is how many inmates have been left from our state prisons have been released on this. As of the date of this article, it was 3,700. A year later, it was 4,700, and I don't know what that number is today because it's hard enough to find information that runs contrary to the roses, daisies, and rose-colored glasses that everyone wants you to see Prop 47 through. But people are frustrated because they don't understand why we can't combat some of these things. So I want to make sure I highlight a couple things. This article mentions that before Prop 47, when prosecutors evaluated the appropriate degree of punishment to seek someone accused of drug possession or theft, they studied the person's history. Now under Prop 47, they can't. So if you've got a dirtbag that's got a history of being a dirtbag, you can't make sure that dirtbag doesn't reoffend because he has a history of being a dirtbag. Now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, it makes you want to give the person the benefit of the doubt, but after somebody's rung that bell or cried wolf, how many times are you going to realize it's not going to change, no matter how many times you lay the option in front of them? One of the other things, and Chief, you can correct me on this, but I believe now minimum sentences are maximum sentences on some of these crimes are 6 months in jail time, county jail time, whereas diversion programs are often 18 to 24 months long. So there's no incentive for them to take these diversion programs as opposed to just taking a short stint in jail where they might do 10 or 20% of that time, correct?
Thanks to Prop 57, it's less than that now.
Which is ridiculous. So we constantly see more and more of these people being emboldened by laws that we as a voting body passed. And I hate that, but I'm part of that voting body, so is everyone on this council. We may not have been on the majority side, but we're still part of that voting body. But we have done this to ourselves, and it drives me crazy. So for the folks who happen to watch this and happen to see this, I know that this council shares your pain. I know that the city staff shares your pain, and I can assure you that the police department shares your pain. But we have to deal with it. That's something, until we can repeal this law, there's no way we're going to get around it, except personal vigilance. Being out there, making sure you're not setting yourself up to be a victim. And I know it's not Mayberry anymore. You can't leave your doors unlocked. You can't leave your purse in your car. You can't leave things in there. They're even going to give these people the slightest tinge that they might want to try to steal from you. And it's sad that we live in that day and age, but we live in that day and age, folks. So I'm sorry that we can't do more. I'm happy that we're doing the best we can. And I'll be honest with you, some of our officers are out there busting their humps to go above and beyond and push things to make sure we get some of those dirt bags off the street, even for a limited amount of time. So thank you to those folks. But just know, the folks out there, we share your frustration, and we will prevail, especially here in this town, because I believe in our police department, I believe in our city staff, and I believe in the folks that live here. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I've got.
Thank you very much. As a footnote to that, that was Prop 47. Prop 57 also got passed, but it is the misinformation. It is the lies that come with the propositions. Those come out of Sacramento. They are written that way for a reason. It's misdirection, and it's a shell game. Prop 57, at this point in time, they figure is going to release over 11,000 felons up and down the state when Prop 57 kicks in. This right here that you were talking about, Ursula, why is it that we are so worried about cap and trade? Cap and trade hasn't expired yet, has it? Why are we in such a big hurry to go ahead and push cap and trade for another 10 years? What has been declared the only shovel-ready project in the state of California that's going to reduce O2 emissions, thereby qualifying for funding from cap and trade? Anybody got any idea about what that one project is?
High-speed rail.
Thank you, high-speed rail. This is the governor seeing to the funding for the future after he's gone for, that's right, the fairy tale monorail to San Francisco, folks. That's all this is about. It's not about the ozone, and it's not about ocean levels. That's a bunch of crap. It's about funding high-speed rail. That's it.
Mr. Mayor, if I might add one thing I forgot to add, I apologize.
Please.
Of course, when we're releasing 4,000, 5,000, 7,000 inmates from state prisons, there's going to be savings. And the state vastly underestimated their savings, and they vastly underestimated their costs. But still, there's annual savings estimated to be between $100 and $150 million per year at the state level. That's earmarked to go back toward treatment programs. The first deposit into what was called the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Fund was scheduled to be made on July 31st, 2016. That just recently was cleared up. But to date, they've accumulated probably $200 to $300 million of taxpayer funds that's supposed to go back to diversion and treatment programs. You know how much of that money's gone back into state funds for those programs? None. That is our problem. We were sold a bill of goods. We need rehabilitation, not incarceration. And we've got not incarceration, but there's not a place for these people to go. So, thank you, Mr.
They're on the
Mayor.
street creating victims. That's what they do. We create victims. Okay, thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem
Yes.
Renee Hill.
Yes. I just wanted to give a big old hand of applause to our Chamber of Commerce, who put on one of the best fireworks shows I have ever seen. I don't know where everybody else was seated, but I swear I thought that was going to come and attack me. It came over my head, and it made it was fabulous. It was so well done that I don't think people realize how hard you really work. You and your staff do a great job of making it look easy. The car show, I know the car show was not as effective as you would have liked to have been. The Downtown Business Association very much appreciated the efforts, because that is the center of our town, and when the heart of the town dies, and we have to continue to work hard to make that an important place. I also want to thank True Value. They raised, was it almost $4,000 that they managed to raise by just asking people when they were in there, would you like to give a donation to the fireworks? $4,000, and they made it easy, because it's awful easy when you got that ATM card going. So thank you to the Chamber. Thank you for a great fireworks show. You do an awful lot for us, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
I might add to that, the city of Taft and the maintenance folks that set that all up for the Chamber of Commerce. They bust their butts too, and make it happen. And then they go in and clean up afterwards too. So a big, huge part of it. So I want to let everybody know that we appreciate our city staff too.
There
I was gonna
also
say
a
the same thing,
there
and
was
on
a
top of
very
that-
handsome flag display this year. Thank you to Huddleston Crane for a beautiful, beautiful flag display.
Well, thank you. It was kind of a last-minute deal, but we're proud to be able to do it. And the wind cooperated, and it made for a beautiful display. So, but I want to touch on what Councilman Miller said, and that is thank you to Public Works. They did a great job setting things up and picking things up and putting it away. But shame on all of you who came and enjoyed that show and left your trash on our rails to trails, such that the next day our Public Works had to pick it up. You had a free show, a wonderful venue, something you can all be proud of, and you throw your trash on the ground. It's unthinkable to me. I cannot believe that. I just cannot possibly believe somebody would do that. So if you are one of those offenders and you had a great evening and then you were talking to everybody about the grand finale and you knowingly left your trash, please come see me. I've got to understand that line of reasoning, because I don't. It's disgusting to me. Throw your own trash away, everybody. Do your part. Come on now. All right. That's all I have. Department reports this evening. Item number 8. No department reports. All right. Planning Commission report this evening. We have a Planning Commission report. I think we have a Planning Commissioner here.
We do, but I'm not sure if I remember any of the
Oh, yeah, right. The ordinance amendments you folks acted on today is what we dealt with last time. That was it, basically.
That was it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much then. We took action, so thanks for your report. Appreciate that.
The planning commission is canceled.
Yeah, I did see that. All right, thank you. City manager statements.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no statements.
All right. City attorney statements.
No statement, Mr. Mayor.
Actually, you did a lot of talking tonight, as a matter of fact. I think you broke a record.
More than usual.
All right. Future agenda requests. Do we have any future agenda requests?
I made a request about doing a study on the PACE program, the Property Assessed Clean Air Energy Program. I'd like to amend it, we rescind it. Just go ahead and have a deal, an ordinance, and maybe the rescind the program. The county's rescinded, the city, the biggest rescinded, because a lot of issues in there. I don't think it's helpful for our reputation as staff of being
Just as information, staff has been looking into what the county and the city of Bakersfield is doing, and I myself and staff would probably recommend a public hearing to give people an opportunity to come speak for or against the
PACE program,
and to have the agenda item on that council meeting or the next council meeting to consider eliminating the project until they get some of the pitfalls.
All right, very good. Well,
perfect.
Can you get concurrence?
I concur on that.
All right, we have concurrence, so we'll look forward to seeing that.
It's probably a good program when it was all set up, but once the government gets involved, you get money involved.
The problem that we've seen through the research is predatory people, mainly to senior citizens, and they're putting their houses up, and it's a super lien against the house, which is it's almost like you're loaning someone money, but you're guaranteed to get it paid back. It's very good on the PACE program end and the contractor end, very bad on the homeowner because there's no protections. They can lose their home. And the last thing we want is to worsen our issue that we have with senior housing here. And we have folks that have paid their houses off and retired and may not be able to afford the type of loans that the contractors are doing for their improvements. I think there's good faith.
A lot of those contractors are not competitive.
Well, unfortunately, there's a few bad contractors that get bad contractors back, and that's always will be. But the problem that we're seeing is some people are borrowing so much money against their houses that they can't afford to pay for it, even if it is on their taxes. And then there's the super lien, and then they get the first rights on their houses, and they get foreclosed on.
All right, very good. Then we'll look forward to seeing that. Thank you. Any other future agenda requests?
No.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to confirm for the next council meeting or next couple of council meetings. I know we discussed our ordinances regarding marijuana coming up.
We will have our cannabis professional here, the group that we hired to look at our ordinances and try to guide us through some of the state mandates and the possibilities that the city might have in the marijuana industry. Not to say we are, but we have to consider every option. He will be here under a study session, so folks can come listen to the study session, but they can also sign up to speak after the study session to give us their thoughts.
Well, there's not a lot of revenue sources. This is one, and this is what we have to look at. So.
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize that some of the things they don't want is, matter of fact, state law now that it's going to be allowed whether you like it or not.
It's already there.
Growing marijuana inside your house will be allowed by state law under certain guidelines, and we can't say anything about it. We can set up rules surrounding it, but we can't say you can't do it. Just like we can't say you can't possess it, we can't say you can't smoke it. We can say you can't do it in public, but times are changing, so we have to stay up with the times and make sure our ordinances reflect what the council's decisions are and what the citizens would like.
All right, so it'll be
Come
coming
out
before the
and
council. All right.
If you want to know and you want to have something to say, come out.
August 1st?
Yes, first Tuesday of August. It'll be at 6 p.m.
All right.
Thank you.
Study session.
So no item.
We do.
Sorry there.
Mark Staples does plan on having some follow-up informational things at the SIP, and he wants to have a public forum like at the rec or something. But give everybody an opportunity. If they miss a council meeting, they can make one of the other.
All right, very good. Okay, onward. We're up to the consent calendar, items 13 through 20. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after regular business items. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Seeing none. The items on the consent calendar are item number 13, the minutes for the June 20th regular meeting. Item number 14, payment of bills, some $1.4 million worth of bills. Item number 15, the treasurer's report. Recommendation is motion to reserve and file the treasurer's report dated June 13th, 2017 for the month of April 2017. Approval of the demolition of 501 Supply Row. Recommendation is a motion to approve the demolition of 501 Supply Row, appropriate $25,000 out of capital reserves for demolition contract to NMS Recycling.
Which building is that? Is that
It's the one directly across from the new transit center.
Yeah, so it's the Sunset Construction Building.
That is correct.
For those folks.
Item number 17, agreement with Taft Union High School District for school resource officer is going to be pulled. Just as a footnote, we put that on the agenda because there was a possibility it was going to come before us, but that's not going to happen. Item number 18, purchase of 5 Colt 5.56 rifles for the police department. Recommendation is approve a payment of the rifles to Pro Force Law Enforcement for $6,225.86 from Fund 36 Drug Forfeiture Account. Item 19, travel to Nevada for the annual RIMS conference for 2 police department personnel. A motion to approve out-of-state travel for Chris Carpenter and Pete Aranda to the annual RIMS conference in State Line, Nevada for the week of October 23rd to the 27th. Item number 20, approval of memorandum of agreements and employee compensation plans. The recommendation is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled a resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving the memorandum of agreements and employee compensation plans for number 1, the Taft Correctional Officers Association, Communications Workers of America, AFL-CIO Local 9110. Number 2, the Taft Police Officers Association, Communications Workers of America, AFL-CIO Local 9110. Number 3, Taft Police Management Group. Number 4, Management Supervisory Confidential Compensation Plan. And number 5, the Department Heads Benefit Compensation Plan. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the council wants to remove?
I'd like to remove number 20, please.
Number 20. All right. That being the case at this time, I would consider a motion to approve consent calendar items 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, and 19.
Motion.
Second.
A motion is second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
Mayor North.
Yes, that's approved on a 5-0 vote. Next up, item number 20, approval of memorandum of agreements and employee compensation plans. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Taft has met and conferred in good faith with each of the bargaining units representing the city employees. It is recommended to approve the memorandum of agreements between the City of Taft and the following employee associations and groups: Taft Correctional Officers, Taft Police Officers, Taft Police Management Group, Management Supervisory, Confidential Compensation Plans, Department Head Benefit Compensation Plans. Each agreement is for 2 years, covering July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2019, and provides for a one-time lump sum payment on a graduated scale based on years of service completed as of June 30th, 2017.
Thank you, City Manager Jones. Councilman Bryant, you asked that we remove this from the consent calendar?
Yes, sir, and I don't mean to make light of it, but I wanted to just say in public forum to those folks within these groups, thank you. Thank you for accepting this and working arm in arm with us as a council and with the city staff, the management staff, to continue to move the city forward in something in a manner that's responsible and something that's doable for the city, especially given what we saw tonight with the ever-increasing costs of public employee pensions. So thank you guys very, very much. We appreciate you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments regarding this issue?
Said that very well.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilman, for
Thank you.
doing that. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve and adopt a resolution entitled Resolution of City Council of the City of Taft approving the memorandum of agreements and employee compensation plans for Taft Correctional Officers Association, Communications Workers of America, AFL-CIO Local 110, Taft Police Officers Association, Communications Workers of America, AFL-CIO Local 110, 9110, I beg your pardon, Taft Police Management Group, Management Supervisory Confidential Compensation Plan, and the Department Heads Benefits Compensation Plan.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? None. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
and Mayor North.
Yes, that approves on a 5-0 vote. Item number 21, approve travel expense for council members to attend the League of California Cities annual conference and select a voting delegate. City Manager Jones.
In August 2001, the City Council adopted a policy establishing procedures and guidelines for travel and certain other expenses of council members. Pursuant to this policy, in order to be in complete compliance with the policy, it will be necessary for the council to authorize expenses prior to commitment of travel. The proposed expenses need to be reviewed and authorized by the full City Council. 2017 League of California Cities Annual Conference is scheduled for September 13th through September 15th, 2017 at the Sacramento Convention Center. The conference will also hold their annual business meeting on Friday, September 15th, 2017 at 12:30 p.m. To ensure the City of Taft is represented and has a voice at the annual business meeting, it will be necessary to select a voting delegate to attend the business meeting. It will also be necessary to select an alternate voting delegate in the event the delegate is unable to attend the meeting. Expenses are estimated to be approximately $1,400 per attendee.
Thank you very much. The recommendation is to approve a motion and appropriate funds from general funds for registration, meals, transportation, and other incidental expenses for the council members who wish to attend the 2017 League of California Cities Annual Conference and the League of California Cities Annual Business Meeting in Sacramento. And then secondly, a motion to select a voting delegate and an alternate voting delegate for the League of California Cities Annual Business Meeting. First, let's poll the council. Who is interested in attending the meeting?
I don't mind.
Okay, Councilman Bryant. Do we have any others?
Delegate to Kern Cog. Wrong one. Sorry.
Sorry?
I was thinking Kern Cog, not the League of Cities.
Oh, okay.
But I'm absolutely eligible to go. So
Okay.
no problem.
Any others?
I've got vacation planned 6 months ago, so we won't be able to make that.
I will not be available either.
I can make it.
Okay. So we have two council members that are going to go to represent the city.
We have one, that Josh, I get Rick's in mine.
Oh, it's fine.
You want to be the delegate if he can't make it for some reason, you're saying?
Be the number or the alternate.
You're not going to go there?
If we got one representative, I think it would be enough.
Okay. Well, Josh, are you
Yeah, absolutely.
okay then?
So September,
All right.
right?
Very good then. Well, since we have you going, I don't think it's going to be difficult to select a voting delegate.
Well, unless I lose my mind, which is entirely possible in this state.
Okay.
That means you have to stay till the bitter end.
That's okay.
All right.
Till the traffic gets real bad.
Well then, at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve and appropriate funds from the general funds for registration, meals, transportation, and other incidental expenses for the council member, Councilman Bryant, who is going to attend the 2017 League of California Cities Annual Conference and the League of California Cities Annual Business Meeting in Sacramento. Along with that, as a part of that motion, we need to select a voting delegate, which is Councilman Bryant, but we won't have an alternate for voting.
I'll recommend Mr. Bryant for that
Okay.
voting delegate.
All right, very good. There's a motion. So, do I have a motion for the appropriation of funds and the voting delegate?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No? Good luck.
Thank you very
You're
much.
in good hands.
I appreciate it.
Bring us back lots of stuff and tell everybody about it.
I'm about to do a poem
We have a
and
motion.
bring
Do we have
back
to vote?
pens. So.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. May we have a vote, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
Mayor North.
Yes, and that's approved on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much.
Just don't carry my business card and put in all the vendor guns, please.
Might have to pick up a handful on the way out.
All right, that concludes our regular session for this evening. At this time, we're going to be going into closed session. Item A, conference with labor negotiator Craig Jones, city manager, Government Code Section 54957.6, all units. Thanks for being a part of our meeting.
Doug.